Here's a question for you. Do you see things in black and white with no gray in between them? Do you make judgments about things quickly and you don't really care what people think? Do you stand on truth no matter who agrees with you or disagrees? Then you probably have the gifting of a prophet. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Blueprint Sounds. My name is Nathan Smith. Thanks for joining me. Today is week 1 in our 7-long-week series about the redemptive gifts, as they're widely known. I'm actually doing these series of videos as a rebuttal to the Enneagram personality test. And if you're interested, go back and look at my previous episode on the Enneagram, and that explains a lot about the dubious history of the Enneagram. Spoiler alert, it comes from the occult. Anyway, go back and watch it. But before we get to today's topic, I want to give you something for free. If you're a worship team or a worship leader that's looking to punch up their Sunday set, you have a song that's fine, you've done it one way for a while, but you'd like something more. If you click on the link below, you can get access to my free PDF. It's called Make It Pop, 25 chart-topping arrangement tricks that work. What you get is an idea for a way that you can improve your arrangement. You get a couple sentences on how that trick works and why it works, and then a song from the radio that shows that trick off. It's perfect to download onto your iPad or print off and take with you to your next worship practice, so that if your guys are looking for a new idea, it's like, something needs to happen here. You can just run down the list and look at that list of 25 and try it out. It's a great resource for you and your team. So again, click below and you get access. Without any further ado, let's jump into what are called the redemptive gifts. So unlike the Enneagram, which has no biblical basis, the redemptive gifts come from Romans 12, where Paul is talking about the different gifts that God gives people. And they are in order: the prophet, the servant, the teacher, the exhorter or encourager, the giver, the ruler or gift of leadership, and the mercy gifting. So let me set the stage by talking about what we mean with the gifts. God is a wonderful designer. Just as we can see his design in creation and his design in our own bodies, he designs our internal workings with amazing forethought. So when it talks about those gifts, it's talking about the design that each one of us has that is God-given. It says in his word that the gifts and calling of God are irrevocable, which means that whether or not you're a Christian, God designed you a certain way. Whether or not you're using it for his glory, it doesn't matter. The negative or the positive, the design is still good because the design comes from God. God has already written down in his book your entire life. All of the good works that he prepared in advance for you to do are written down. The tools that you need to perform those good works are in you. Now, they're not perfect by any means. They're raw materials. They're potential. But God put them in you so that by knowing him and by growing up into maturity, you would start to unpack all the things that are in you to do those good works that he prepared in advance for you to do. That's what your design is for. Your design is not primarily for you. Your design is for him, but it's also for others, because that's how he builds his kingdom, is by us helping each other. So that's what your design is meant for. Well, with each of these gifts that we talk about, we're going to go through the design of the gift, some of the ways that we can see those personality traits come out. We're going to look at signs of a mature gifting, signs of a carnal gifting, the lie that Satan wants us to believe about ourselves and our gifting, and finally, the birthright, or the thing that God put you on the planet to do. So we're going to start with the first one, the prophet. The prophet sees design. He or she can look at a given situation or a person or any occurrence and look at what went well, what's gone wrong, how it should be, and what can be improved. That's what the prophet does better than any of the other giftings. Here's some of the personality traits. They tend to see things in black and white. No gray area, no in between. They tend to make judgments rather quickly and they don't need time to process what they think about a thing. They're able to stand on truth regardless of who agrees or disagrees with them. They're very verbally expressive, and they usually have a word count that they have to get out within a certain day. They love trying new things. They love taking on new challenges. They do not enjoy maintaining the status quo. If they're given a project or a task, they're either going to make it better or start a new one or jump ship, because maintaining is not interesting to the prophet. They need to have a goal. They need to know where they're going, because that's what the prophet is all about, is seeing down the road as to what's coming next. They're also really good at forecasting into the future based on truth. So they might give you advice like this: hey, if you stay on the road you're on, this is what's going to happen, XYZ. But if you are on this road, this is what's going to happen, XYZ. Prophet's very good at that. The prophet has a huge emotional range, so they have the high highs, but they also have the low lows. And they need time to re-energize and process after something big. Finally, they're uncomfortable when something is unresolved or confusing. Let me take a second and talk about the difference between the office of the prophet and the gifting of the prophet. The office of the prophet, we think about the word prophet, in the Old Testament, say Elijah the prophet or Elisha the prophet, or any of the Old Testament prophets. Thus saith the Lord, it will not rain for 3 years. That kind of thing. That's what the office of the prophet is. Anybody, any of the giftings can be called by God to walk in the office of a prophet, to speak the word of the Lord to the people that need it. The gifting of the prophet is different, right? The gifting of the prophet is everything that we talked about, but it doesn't mean that only giftings of prophets can walk in the office of prophets, right? Two distinct things. All right, let's move on. Here are some signs of a mature prophet. They confront sin boldly. They're passionate for excellence. They speak the truth for those that need it, either for encouragement or for reproach. Right? They're the person who's going to tell you like it is, but encourage you from that truth. And finally, they give the first and the best to God. Here are some signs of a carnal prophet. They can be judgmental of others, but even more so of themselves. People don't realize that the prophet, maybe they seem like they're hard on other people, but they're actually the hardest on themselves. They're unwilling to forgive and see past the failings of others. And as a result, they have a tendency to hold grudges, and they would rather be right than repair a relationship. The lie that Satan wants the prophet gifting to believe is this: I can solve my problems better than God. But here's what the prophet was put on the earth to do: to experience the excellence of God, and then take broken people or relationships or situations and expose them to the excellence of God and rebuild them and make them whole again. That's why God has prophets. A great example of someone in Scripture with a prophet gifting is Peter. Peter was the first. He got out of the boat, right? He's also the first to speak, for better or for worse. That's Peter, a quintessential prophet gifting. But God had to lead him into maturity to be everything that Peter was supposed to be. Hey, that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the prophet gifting. And I should be clear that this is not my teaching. I did not come up with it. I'm standing on someone else's shoulders. So I'll leave a link below to a video series that goes into these giftings in much greater detail if you're interested. Not affiliated, I'm just a big fan of this person's ministry. Stay tuned, because we have 6 more gifts to walk through in the next weeks. And again, go to blueprintsounds.com if you want to get access to that 25 chart-topping arrangement tricks that work guide. Until next time, God bless.